The moment Snoop Dogg said that name in a courtroom, everything changed. Not because people hadn't whispered it before, but because he wasn't supposed to say it out loud. In Los Angeles, there are rules that don't need to be written down. And one of them is simple: you don't name names. Not to the system, not on record, not ever. That's why the room felt different the second Snoop opened his mouth. This wasn't the smooth, joking version people see on talk shows. This was a man who looked tired, serious, and fully aware of what his words were about to do. At first, it sounded like an apology. He talked about his past, about the violence his music once glorified, about the weight that influence carried. People thought this was going to be another reflective celebrity moment. Then he kept going, and instead of stopping, he pointed responsibility in a direction no one expected him to publicly touch. The name he said sent shockwaves through the city. Big U. And the second it left his mouth, the conversation around Nipsey Hussle's death exploded all over again. For years, Snoop walked a careful line. He was respected in the streets and celebrated by the industry. He survived trials, beef, label wars, and politics by understanding exactly when to speak and when to stay silent. That balance only works if you follow the code. And the code doesn't care about intentions, it only cares about actions. When Snoop named Big U in court, half the internet immediately used a word nobody wants attached to their legacy: snitch. That label isn't about truth or lies, it's about breaking a rule that's been enforced for generations. And once it sticks, it rewrites everything people think they know about you. To understand why that single name caused so much damage, you have to understand who Big U was in Nipsey's world. He wasn't some random figure floating around the background. He was part of the ecosystem. Early belief, early protection, early access. In street-built systems, that kind of support comes with invisible contracts. Respect, loyalty, influence, control. But as Nipsey grew, something shifted. Not just as an artist, but as a businessman. He wasn't chasing charts anymore, he was buying property, building stores, talking about ownership and long-term systems, changing the landscape of Crenshaw from the inside. And that kind of independence doesn't always sit comfortably with people who were used to having a say in your movement. Rumors started circulating quietly. Arguments, distance, tension. Stories that Nipsey wasn't playing the same game anymore. Big U denied everything. He said he had no involvement, no resentment, no hidden motives. And plenty of people believe him. But others remembered something Nipsey himself had said more than once: that staying connected to where you come from comes with danger. Nipsey didn't move away when he made it. He stayed, he reinvested. His marathon store wasn't just a business, it was a statement. The tech spaces he dreamed of weren't about money. They were about changing outcomes. But staying visible also meant staying exposed. He knew jealousy lived close. He knew success changes dynamics. He accepted that risk because he believed loyalty mattered more than safety. On the day he died, nothing felt unusual. He was doing what he always did: helping someone from the neighborhood, being present, showing love. Within minutes, the city lost more than a rapper. It lost a blueprint. And when something that important disappears suddenly, people start filling the silence with questions. Almost immediately, things didn't sit right for a lot of people. The timing, the motive, the way it unfolded. Some believed it was personal anger, others said jealousy. But a large part of the community felt like there was more underneath it all. That Nipsey was becoming too powerful, too independent, too influential. And that kind of growth creates enemies you never see coming. Those theories never disappeared. They lived in the background. Old interviews resurfaced, old conversations were replayed, and one name kept getting whispered, never proven, never gone: Big U. So when Snoop stood in that courtroom and repeated what many people had quietly debated for years, it wasn't just testimony, it was a detonation. Snoop understands the streets better than almost anyone still standing. He knew exactly what naming that name would cost him. He knew how it would be received. Which raises the question nobody can stop asking: why now? There are only two possibilities people keep circling. Either Snoop finally chose honesty over image, meaning some of those long-standing whispers were rooted in something real, or he was protecting himself, putting another name in the spotlight before attention shifted in his direction. Both paths are dangerous. Both destroy alliances. Both create enemies, and neither brings closure. Caught in the middle of all this is Nipsey's family. They aren't debating street codes or conspiracies online. They're living with a permanent loss: his mother, his brother, his children, and Lauren London, who didn't just lose a partner, but the future they were building together. Every time the internet drags these rumors back up, it forces them to relive the worst day of their lives. Instead of remembering Nipsey for his vision, his growth, and his light, the conversation keeps drifting back to who might have played a role in his death. And that's the part that hurts the most, because legacies aren't supposed to end in question marks. Maybe Snoop didn't expose the truth. Maybe he exposed how fragile these systems really are. A city still trapped between loyalty and accountability, between silence and honesty, between honoring the dead and protecting the living. Years later, Nipsey Hussle's death still controls the conversation. Not through music, but through unanswered questions. And until those questions stop resurfacing, Los Angeles isn't healed. It's just waiting.